But then he starts to really go insane when he begins to play himself, trying to embody two different sides, black and white, at war in one man. Then the book turns into kind of like a psychological horror story of obsession and madness. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Cleverly Sargent. Great to see you as always. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you're doing well. So grab that coffee and let's talk about a book. Oh man, that's good. Also, these mugs are available via the link below if you'd like to support the show. Thanks a bunch. Today's episode is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet. Are you carrying one of those old crappy leather wallets that is destroying your spine and kind of like warping you into some weird beast with chronic back pain? Do you want that really? No, you don't. You want a Ridge Wallet. These things are awesome, sleek, classy little pieces of industrial design. Very minimal, very compact, easy to use. They're just slightly bigger than your credit card, and yet they're so strong and sturdy. I love them. Makes a great gift as well. You know, it's practical, it's not too cheap, it's not too expensive, it's a nice in-between gift. Holds up to 12 cards, plus a cash clip on the back. This is the Stonewashed Titanium model. It's a very interesting distressed texture here. It's very cool, very industrial. There's over 30 colors and styles to choose from, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. If this wasn't enough to win you over yet, check out their 30,000 five-star reviews. In fact, the Ridge team is so confident you'll like it, they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. Get 10% off your order today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the discount code betterthanfood. The link is below. Thank you so much. Today, I'm reviewing Chess Story by the Austrian author Stefan Zweig. My first Stefan Zweig I've ever read. This was a gift from Connor Smith. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. I'm partially sponsored by NYRB in that they send me free books from time to time, but this one was a gift. Chess Story is a novella that was published in 1941 by the Austrian author Stefan Zweig. I think he wrote it the year before he committed suicide with his wife in Brazil. Yeah, we'll talk about that. It is also known as the Royal Game, which of course is another name for the game chess. I like chess. I'm not good at it. I've always harbored a deep hatred for board games, except chess. I think chess is fascinating. I have kind of like an ASMR sort of thing. I think I used to like watch people play chess or Go, the game Go, just to kind of like relax at one point on YouTube. It's really interesting. I don't know what it is that does that, but there's something in my head that it's relaxing to me to watch chess, even though this book is anything but relaxing, but we'll get into that. Anyways, this is about a man who is driven to madness by the Nazis, and in the process happens to become a chess genius, a chess master, arguably the best in the world. There are, of course, a million different ways in which the Nazis had a catastrophic effect on society and individuals, and this is a fictional story about a man who is driven to madness through isolation torture by the SS, but in a manner where, unbelievably, he is able to kind of flip the tables at a heavy cost. That's why I say kind of. But through studying chess in isolation, he becomes a kind of genius. This will contain spoilers, just to warn you. It's very short, so you might want to go and read it first and then come back to this. It'll take you an afternoon or a day. I mean, it's a weekend read. It's very, very easy. The story is told through the eyes of this secondary character, who I don't think we know a lot about. He's more of like a neutral party, who's on board this ship sailing from New York to Argentina. The book very much has this kind of, late 1930s, early 40s sort of continental accent type of atmosphere. Casablanca, that kind of thing. A classic film noir, maybe. Very cosmopolitan, like Zweig himself. Sort of a meeting place of various characters from different cultures. On board the ship is a Yugoslavian chess master, like the greatest in the world, named Sentovic. The best chess player in the world, though from humble origins. An absolute prodigy, but kind of this, self-obsessed rube. A Yugoslavian yokel. Bad manners, basically. Also on board is a civil engineer named McConnor, who, like the book says, has made a fortune drilling oil in California. Who seems like a very driven, headstrong individual. He wants to beat this chess master, and he offers him $250 per game once he finds out he's on ship. He keeps losing, of course, but he keeps playing, he wants to beat him. And they draw a small crowd, with this wealthy man losing and demanding more games. And this master chess player is just like completely ignoring him and the others who are all kind of conspiring on like what to do, but nobody knows how to beat this guy. So they're all just at a loss, and the master chess player is off like reading a newspaper or something like that. I think he's totally rude, doesn't care about them at all, is not polite, just wants to, it appears, like get the money and get out. Again, we see through the eyes of this neutral party, so he's able to describe all these characters. It's a great literary technique and allows for plenty of good writing. The narrator, we don't know anything about the narrator really. It could be Zweig himself in an imaginary setting. As another game is being played between the chess master and the wealthy man, a passerby notices a bad move on the wealthy man's part. And while the chess master is away, like reading or whatever he's doing, ignoring the game until it's his turn, as he doesn't even have the manners to sit with the men. He's so self-absorbed he's like reading a paper or something. The passerby joins the crowd and begins telling the wealthy man what to do. He gives him a very good piece of advice. Turns out the passerby is a genius at chess, but he's never played. I think that's the case. He's a genius at chess. I don't know if he's ever played. I think he mentions that he's never played before. The passerby is revealed to be Dr. B, who is a lawyer who is protecting the assets of the Austrian elite during World War II and was arrested by the SS. He had information they wanted, but instead of sending him to a concentration camp, they put him in a hotel with a guard where he couldn't leave for months. He couldn't do anything, like totally isolated. Isolated in this room for months with nothing. Nothing to write with, nothing to read, food in a bathroom, but other than that, they'd take him out for an interrogation from time to time. They were trying to break him down and break his mind. And at first, it seems like they were succeeding. At one point, he breaks down and he gives in and he yells at the guard and he says he'll tell them everything, But the guard doesn't hear him, and so he gets back his courage and remains silent. Then one day, while waiting for an interrogation session, he steals a book out of a coat. At first, he's elated that he has something to do, but then he becomes disappointed because it's a book on chess. But he soon begins to teach himself and uses his checkered hotel bedspread as a board, a makeshift board, and bits of dried bread for the pieces. And then he starts visualizing the games in his head. There's like 150 of them in this book or something, and he just repeatedly plays them over and over and over and over and over again, and he starts to become a master, and he starts to become obsessed, and he starts to actually enjoy it. He starts to actually become irritable or impatient with the interrogations, and he's like, I just want to go, I want to get back to my room and play chess, goddammit, But then he starts to really go insane when he begins to play himself, trying to embody two different sides, black and white, at war in one man. Then the book turns into kind of like a psychological horror story of obsession and madness. It's great. I mean, that's really the unique, brilliant thing about the book. This is a magnificent story about focus and boredom, and the honing, crafting of a skill through immense pressure, immense psychological torment, basically. It's not a good thing, of course, but there is an interesting positive component that is spun out of it. Now, I'm not suggesting you actually lock yourself in a hotel room or any room with, nothing else but a food and a book for 4 to 5 months. It got me thinking about something, though. Our attention is now commanded. It's totally filled up. We are never bored. I think I was listening to Cal Newport talk about this the other day. In a sense, it's like, Infinite Jest, David Foster Wallace's hideous videotape where anybody who watches it they can't look away, they can't stop watching it. Except instead of TVs, now it's phones. But screens everywhere, constantly. There is no room to be bored, and thus there's no room to think. There's no room to contemplate and think about something. And to do the actual mental work required to build a skill, to actually cut yourself off entirely from any and all other options in order to get the thing done that must be done. I feel like it's a very special person who can force himself into that situation. Not, of course it's torture, it's awful, the situation in the book, but it is compelling, that kind of ascetic lifestyle of being completely deprived of everything except that which is essential, and the focus becoming that tightly centered on one activity for an extended period of time. I just found it really interesting, and also how, of course, how that leads into something horrifying, which is madness, Perhaps the problem is not that you don't have what you don't have, but rather that you have too much staring at you in the face all day. That is definitely, I guarantee you, my illness, my problem. The reason I'm lazy and the reason I'm a failure at all the creative things I've wanted to do. It's because I'm distracted, because I have distractions. And they can creep in insidiously, right? This is just kind of like a tangent, just going on to what I got out of the book, They can look productive or meaningful, but they're not, ultimately, in the scheme of things. They're distractions. They don't mean anything at the end of the day. And yet I do them, and I can't seem to stop long enough to get the work done. Think I'm OCD. The work you are viewing is the result of my willpower, so I don't know what that says. But you see, the thing is that it's not the Nazis that give him this power, it's himself. He's the one who changes this torturous experience into an asset. And, he actually is able to withstand. He's able to hold on to his mind. He's able to, then he suspects they're actually impressed by him. I think he says at one point in the book, like they're acting that way, the interrogation sessions, they're impressed by him because he's holding on. He's not crazy. Because he's still in control of himself, even being subjected to that kind of deprivation. And they see it as a kind of strength. And it is, but it's also his focus on this one task at hand, this one obsession, this specialized obsession, which eventually goes too far. But the description of the process wherein Dr. B learns the game inside and out is just great. During those days, I was constantly becoming confused. I had to start this one game from the beginning over and over again, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. But who under the sun had so much unoccupied and unoccupiable time as I, the slave of nothingness? Who had such infinite reserves of desire and patience? After 6 days, I played the game perfectly all the way through. After another 8 days, I didn't even need the crumbs on the bedspread to make the positions in the book real to me. And after 8 more days, I could do without the checkered bedspread. The symbols in the book, A1, A2, C7, C8, which had been abstract at the beginning, automatically turned into visible, 3-dimensional positions in my head. The transformation was total. I had created an internal projection of the chessboard in pieces and was able to see any position based on nothing more than the formulas in the book, the way an expert musician has only to glance at a score to hear all the voices in their harmonization. Wow. It's not a difficult text at all, and yeah, it's really a great weekend read for anybody who hasn't had the pleasure of reading Stefan Zweig. The book plays out like a great film from the early 1940s, or late 30s. It's absolutely no comparison, of course, but living through the pandemic in a studio apartment, I can imagine, when he's describing his hotel room, I can sort of imagine what it might feel like to go insane looking at the same 4 walls every day for months on end, where all days are indistinguishable from any others, and life is a kind of a gray, monotonous, horrific sort of void. Yeah, again, no comparison at all. I'm plenty stimulated. I never have to leave the room. I have the internet. Stefan Zweig was an Austrian author who was born wealthy and able to travel and hobnob quite a bit. He was a friend of Sigmund Freud and a pacifist, though apparently pro-war at the beginning of World War I, according to this New Yorker article I've linked to below, but then changing his mind. Certainly, the Freud thing is interesting because the element of psychological conflict is definitely present in Chess Story. And maybe that came from his talks with or readings of Freud. So in 1934, during Hitler's rise to power, Zweig left Austria for the UK, but was apparently supposed to be arrested by the Nazis after they took over England. His London address was listed in the SS Black Book, which you can see on the Wikipedia page. Absolutely terrifying. Imagine being hunted from country to country by the Nazis. He and his wife, second wife, lived in New York State for a time, and then they moved to Brazil, where they eventually committed suicide together by laying down in bed and overdosing on barbiturates. It appears that on a basic level everything was okay, but they were just so distraught, so depressed over the disintegration of Europe, their home. It's a very, very sad story. Apparently his memoir, The World of Yesterday, was completed one day before his suicide. According to this article I've linked to in the New Yorker below, in the 20s and 30s, Zweig was the most translated author in Europe. But what did I dislike about it? Well, the atmosphere of the story on the ocean liner was excellent, really engaging in the setup and the structure of the story. Very compelling characters, brilliant process of the descent into madness on Dr. B's part, but the escape of Dr. B wasn't that great. Here's a spoiler, too, you've been warned. Yeah, I just thought it was lackluster. I thought it could have been done better. What happens is that Dr. B loses his mind, he has a mental breakdown. He attacks his guard, and he is put in the hospital, like, a sanatorium or something. And the physician taking care of him just takes care of it. He's like, oh, they'll send you back if, I let you out there and so on and so forth. So I'll just do some stuff and we'll get you out of here. And the Nazis just leave him alone. I didn't think that made a whole lot of sense. There's some connection, the physician recognizes his family name or something and is like, pull some strings and gets him out of there. I mean, I'm sure that happened in World War II, so it might have been based off of a real thing that happened. It was kind of anticlimactic. Well, it's interesting that it's ambiguous, and Zweig actually speculates on the possibilities in the book. I would have thought somebody that they've invested that much time into interrogating would either be imprisoned permanently or killed or something, or at least they would make an effort to capture him or, something. I don't know. So how that whole thing just got brushed off was sort of vague and underdeveloped. I mean, there's something about Hitler having conquered the region, so he simply just wasn't important anymore, and somehow Dr. B escapes, just slips through. So I don't know. There seemed to be room for improvement there, in my opinion. Because the story of Dr. B rose up dramatically, but then just sort of like deflated. I personally thought he would have escaped in a more daring fashion, because it was a very dramatic build-up. But maybe Zweig was just going for realism, you know? And this actually happened to someone he knew, or him, or somebody he'd heard or read about. It just seemed a little bit inconsistent because the rest of the story was very much rooted in dramatic fiction. But it's fine, you know, whatever. It doesn't really need that. Chess is a war game, you know, pure strategy. As my wife said. As a metaphor, as an act of resistance, the man's chess obsession is powerful. But the fact that his fire ends up consuming him, splits his mind in two and drives him mad, is tragic and fascinating as a narrative. I wonder what Zweig meant by it, or if it was, you know, intentionally ambiguous. Could it have been a metaphor for the resistance one must cultivate inside one's head in order to evade the overarching forces that are there to destroy you? But then you go mad in the process, and you know, you can only run so far, so to speak, maybe. Maybe. So better than food? Yes. It's certainly worth your time. The sort of Casablanca atmosphere and the whole host of characters with interesting backstories meeting at one place at one point in time, the excitement of Dr. B's discovery and subsequent mastery of chess followed by his horrific descent into madness, it's great. It's a fast, engaging, thought-provoking read. If you like Queen's Gambit, pick this up. Totally solid. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, welcome. Thank you very much for watching. I take all the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video to the show, and I place their names in this mason jar. For each review, I pull out a name, and whoever's name I pull out is sent a hard copy of the book, plus a bag of coffee roasted by yours truly, which I am drinking right now. It's a delicious Ethiopian. Plus, you'll also receive one of these book cards in your book. It's just my face. For $1 or more, you'll get access to the patron-only reviews, the last one I did being Nina Power's Platforms, which is an excellent little read, plus the Discord channel. You will also get all these reviews ad-free. And you will also get access to the Better Than Friday newsletter that I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things that I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books in the pipeline, music, films, articles, changes week to week. Unfortunately, international shipping is not included. Sorry about that. And thank you so much. Thank you very much to all the patrons, and best of luck. Okay, here we go. Nicholas C. Nicholas Carlucci, man, you, yeah, yes. I've been wanting to draw Nicholas for a while, just because he's a friend. Thank you so much, Nicholas. He's been watching diligently and supporting the show very kindly for a long time, and I have wanted to draw him, and this is the first time ever, so this is sort of historical. This is awesome. You are going to receive Chess Story by Stefan Zweig, plus a bag of delicious coffee. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for all the support, for the kind gifts, for everything. Thank you very much to you and Sarah Michelle. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this and share this with a friend who you think would enjoy Chess Story by Stefan Zweig. Please subscribe if you haven't already, of course, and always remember, bring a book wherever you go. All right, great to see you as always. Take care of yourselves. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Ciao.